Hello, people. It is your good friend Chad Marco here again with a special Halloween themed video for you guys. Now, hold up. I'm gonna turn the lights out for this shit. God, yeah. Let's get into the fucking holiday spirit and shit. Yeah, so for the holidays, the Halloween holidays, I'm gonna just do a little simple video. Because if you don't know, I am a huge fan of horror movies. I think most of the movies that I actually watch are probably horror themed. I love the sounds of screaming teenagers as I drift off to sleep. Oh yes, horror movies. I don't know what. I'm trying to think, why do I like horror movies so much? Maybe I just love fucked up shit. Maybe I just love the blood and the gore and the sexy girls and the tension and the deformed killers, the maniacs, the monsters. I don't know, but if I had to guess, I think it's because horror movies, they sort of evoke a strong emotion within me. Even if the movie isn't necessarily scary, because I'm at the age now where it's rare that I get like legitimately scared from a damn horror movie. But certainly when I was younger, just honestly, like watching a scary movie could like just give me the chills for days on end. But now I think it's more about the tension. Like that's really what it's about now. It's like a good horror movie, I feel like it gets you invested to the point of caring about the characters, and then you get to a point where you don't want him to die or her to die, and you kind of like just rooting for certain characters to escape. Like I feel like a bad horror movie is when you don't even care who dies or you don't even care about the outcome. Like that's, to me nowadays, like that's the hallmark of a bad horror movie, when you don't even care about the fucking outcome. But that's kind of the most I can hope for as far as like an emotional, some type of emotional attachment to a horror movie, because I'm kind of past the age of being afraid. But again, every now and then I do see something that legitimately gives me the chills. Like I had watched I just recently watched the Exorcist, and I swear, bro, like that movie gave me the fucking chills, dude. Like for real, like, I felt like a tingling sensation in my spine. I felt like this fuzz in my brain, and I know like that's when I'm really like kind of spooked. So it's still possible, but again, I am just turned out on horror movies, man. Like I watch them religiously, so I don't have any more fear left. But still, like even now, like if I binge watch horror movies, like I've been watching them a lot lately, and even last night, like I was kind of walking around the house and I was like, you know, like I was kind of spooked. I've been watching a lot of horror movies. Like I kind of had that imagery in my head, just thinking like Leatherface is gonna pop out of the closet, and you know, just stupid shit like that. So, but man, yeah, I really love horror movies, man. Like, and almost similar to how I like to watch like anime. Like I'm patient enough to just kind of sit through like the bad ones just to find like those hidden gems. Like the same way I love watching like a lot of anime just to find those hidden gems, I do the same thing with horror movies. Like I love to watch different kinds of horror movies and really just take risk and watch some like even some of the worst horror movies, I can find something good about it that I like. And again, man, like it's probably my favorite genre of movie. But without further ado, did I explain why I'm making this video? But anyway, yeah, this video is gonna be my top 10 horror movies, and hopefully you find probably most of these you're aware of, so I don't think I'm probably gonna be recommending anything that you don't know about or haven't at least heard of. But there are a couple of sort of lesser known horror movies on this list, at least ones that I don't hear people talk about frequently. So without further ado, let's get straight into my top 10 horror movies of all time. Yeah. Okay. Now, number 10, Anthropophagus. Oh yes. Now, this movie is bad. This movie is bad. But I had to put like a bad horror movie up here because I like the bad, quote unquote the bad. It's like some horror movies are so bad that they're good. Like I feel like Evil Dead is sort of the king of that genre, like that genre, especially like the first Evil Dead. But for me, like my favorite bad horror movie is Anthropophagus. It's an Italian horror movie. I think it's directed by Joe D'Amato. Came out in about 1980, and it's about these group of friends. Of course, it's about these group of friends. They're on vacation. Sort of like they rented a boat and they're hopping from island to island, and they meet this girl, and this girl, she has like this part-time job where she goes to one of the islands to sort of she's like a caretaker for a blind girl who lives on one of the islands, but she missed her boat. So she runs into this group of friends and she says, hey, you guys are going out that way. Can I just kind of hitch a ride on your boat and just so I can, just drop me off there and we'll part ways. So they're like, okay, yeah, like we're all cool people. Yeah, let's go. So they get on the boat and they go to the island where the girl works. And when they get there, immediately they notice something is strange. Like all the people are missing. There's no one to be found. It's a small island with a small population, but still you would think that, we'll at least find somebody, but everybody is missing until they find a dead body. Oh yes. Now it gets fun. So they find a dead body and that kind of lets you know, okay, something is wrong. Now, before all this happened, they left one of the girls on the boat while they explored the island. And then when they tried to go back to the boat was sort of drifting off. So somebody let the boat off into the ocean. So now they're stuck on this island and all the people are missing. So they go to the house where the girl works to take care of the blind girl. They hide out there for the night, and really, long story short, there's a cannibal on the island killing everyone one by one. I mean, it's not a very complex. It really is kind of your typical slasher where it's just a cannibal on the island on the loose and he's killing everybody one by one. But what makes this so special? There are certain things about this movie that I really like. Now, for one, I like the soundtrack. The soundtrack it sounds like somebody was on like LSD and had like 3 days to make this soundtrack. And really, some of the tunes are really interesting, especially the song that plays while they're on the boat going towards the island. Like I really dig that track. And it really, because one thing I like about horror movies, I like that sort of gradual build up to the main characters finding out that something is wrong. But before that, there's always that peaceful section where they're just sort of hanging out. And I love the beginning of the movie where they're just hanging out on the boat and everything's fine. And the song that plays during this part really conveys that feeling of peace and tranquility and sort of friendship and calmness, really like the calm before the storm of when they actually reach the island and run into this fucking maniac that's killing everybody. And also, like, this is one of the movies that introduced me to the unique style of Italian horror. And Italian horror is special, man, because really for like two reasons for me. It's like, on one hand, like when I first found out about this whole world of like Italian horror, like it introduced me to so many new horror movies that I had never knew anything about. I mean, of course, we all know about the Halloweens and the Friday the 13th and the Texas Chainsaw Massacres and the this and that. But, you know, and I'm really into horror movies, so I'm thinking I know what's up. And then I find out about Italian horror, and it's like just an entirely new world. And it really kind of started with this movie in particular. I found it on YouTube, and it just, again, it introduced me to a whole new world of horror. But also the thing I like about Italian horror is like they push the envelope. Like they don't hold back. It's like they show things where I feel like had it been an American production team, like they would have held back or they would have cut away. I mean, and all right, before I get too into, you know, this too far into this actual, this whole video, I just let you know there probably are going to be a couple spoilers, so spoiler alert. But just for example, in this particular movie, there's a scene, I mean, this is the only movie where I've seen like this kind of kill, but there's a scene where the killer, he's captured the husband and wife of the group, and I think he stabbed the husband, and the husband was sort of like bleeding out but just barely alive, and he had the wife who was pregnant, and he put his hand up her fucking vagina, pulled the baby out, the embryo or the fetus, whatever, and just ate the fucking baby in front of the husband. Like that was dark as hell. But again, like that's Italian horror. Like they really pushed the envelope. Like, man, like I mean, where else have you seen something like that? Like that was one of the most brutal kills I've ever seen in a horror movie. And really, it's just some of the kill, like, and I would say at least about like really two of the kills in this are like really brutal, man. Like just really bad. But again, like, and then there are like certain scenes that I really like. There's a scene where everybody they're in the house. It's nighttime. It's thundering. It's lightning. I mean, the whole mood, man. It's like this mix of like comfy, but also scary. Because at this point, you know, one of them is missing. They found a dead body, but they don't really know like what's going on. They don't have any concrete evidence that, you know, the person that's missing is hurt in any way. They haven't run into the killer yet, so they're still just kind of like, they're spooked, but it's like, you know, it's weird, but we're all alive and just one of us is missing, but you know, we'll just hang out here tonight, right? And I love it because it's just this comfy scene of like, they're all spooked, but like they're all together in this dark house in the living room. They're eating, they're talking about trying to make a plan about what to do tomorrow and whatnot. And then two of them go down to the basement while everyone else is asleep. And while they're down there, a girl just bursts out of this fucking wine barrel covered in like red wine. And it looks like she's covered in blood, but it's wine, and she has a knife and she's just stabbing and screaming. And it's really, she's been hiding in this wine barrel for God knows how long. And when she heard them come down, she thought that they were the killer that has been killing people on the island. But again, like that scene, the way it's shot, and seeing the girl covered in wine, she kind of looked like Carrie when they poured up the pig's blood on her and shit. Like again, that's just one of those scenes that like just the whole imagery of it is like unforgettable. And I guess really for me, again, like Anthropophagus, just as far as like bad horror movies, like this is probably my favorite. Like this is my favorite horror movie just put on like right before I go to sleep, because it takes about 40 minutes for it to really get going. So I'm knocked out, you know, by then. And, you know, I just love that the peaceful, tranquil beginning that just sort of just slowly becomes more like the tension just rises and rises throughout. But yeah, I always have a hard time pronouncing it, but Anthropophagus for sure, like my number 10. Okay. Okay, now number 9, my favorite horror movies of all time, Friday the 13th, Part 3. Now you're probably wondering why Part 3. Like it's like 30 of these damn movies, but I said why Part 3? So recently I went back because I've been on a horror movie just binge. I'm just cracked out on horror movies right now. So I said, man, I'm just gonna watch a bunch of Friday the 13th, and I'm gonna start at number 1 and then go up, until I'm sick of it. So I started at number 1, and I'm sure you guys know about Friday the 13th Part 1, and sort of, like really Friday the 13th is like, it's the god of like slasher horror movies. Really, I mean, when you really think about it, like Jason is the face of the slasher horror movie genre. There are some close seconds, some close contenders like Michael Myers, Chucky, Leatherface, whatnot. But I feel like Jason is the king. He's the god of the slasher horror film. So I had to go back and watch it, and man, like I forgot how good those first Friday the 13th movies are. Like they are really like those are some good solid slasher horror films. Now I don't think I need to really go into too great of a detail about what Friday the 13th Part 3 is about, but but okay, another spoiler alert here. But if you didn't know, in the first Friday the 13th, the killer is not Jason. The killer is his mom. And his mom gets killed at the end of the movie. And Jason sort of makes a cameo at the end of it. Like he's like a child. He comes out of the water or whatnot and, spooks the girl or whatnot. But in Part 2 forward, Jason is the main killer. Well, there are a couple, Part 5, but I'm going to talk about that. But yeah, Jason is the primary killer of the Friday the 13th series after number 1. And again, I forgot how good those first movies were. Like they were really solid horror movies. And let me tell you why I picked Part 3 in particular. It's a typical horror movie story. A group of teens, they go to Camp Crystal Lake and, they're smoking dope, having sex or whatever, hanging out. And then Jason appears and he's killing them one by one. But I feel like for me, Part 3 is the pinnacle of like scary Jason. Like I feel like Jason past a certain point is more comical than scary. And let me explain to you exactly why. Now, again, I watched Part 1 through 6 before I got tired of it, right? Now, if you don't know, there are basically like 2 versions of Jason that I noticed. There's sort of this down to earth, like human Jason, to where like he's basically like this big retarded just like he's big and strong and tough and fat, but he's still like human. Like in the early Jason movies, he's not this immortal Terminator zombie. Like he's just a regular like deformed man, like just barely surviving in the woods, killing people as revenge for his mother being killed. Like he's very human. And I forgot about that. And to me, that Jason is so much more scarier than the immortal zombie Jason. I mean, seriously, like when you watching it from 1 to 6, you see at 6, you see the shift where they change Jason completely. Like in Part 6, when like Jason is resurrected from the grave, and then like one of the guys hits him in the back of the head with a shovel, and the shovel breaks, and Jason doesn't even budge. That's where the bullshit starts. Like that's where from then it's just like Jason is totally overpowered. He's no longer really defeatable. Well, for plot purposes, they'll take him down eventually. But again, immortal zombie, and but that's not scary to me. Like for some reason, the vulnerable, desperate Jason is so much scarier. There's a scene in part 3 where this girl, she's having a flashback, and I think she got in an argument with her mom or something. So she went off to like just to play, like I'm running away. And she went off to the woods and she was just like sitting by this tree. And Jason comes out of nowhere and he got no mask on, like this, no mask. And he's frantically trying to grab her. And it almost looks like he's trying to like drag her into the woods and rape her or some shit. And his movements were so like frantic but human, like just I want to rape this bitch, I want to choke this bitch, and I'm desperate. Like that scene is so spooky to me. Like that shit is really creepy. His movements were just so, again, like just it was frantic and manic, but it was human. And you compare that to Jason in like 6 and 7, like he's totally robotic. Now he's like an android. Like he's literally like Terminator. Like he's like this stiff and just overpowered and like this robotic killer. And again, that's not scary to me because it's like he's like a fucking machine and stuff, like this desperate being. And you know, saying all that, and I mean, I'm a spoiler alert. There's no Nightmare on Elm Street on my list, and here's why. I've never been a fan of Nightmare on Elm Street. Why? Because Freddy is too overpowered. You talking about a guy, not even a guy, a ghost specter type being that can kill you in your fucking dream. Like if that's not overpowered, I don't know what is. And for me, I feel like there's a certain threshold where something is, for me, for something to really be scary, it has to be vulnerable. Like, I know that sounds weird, but when something is overpowered, that's not scary to me. Like, that's almost like death itself coming for you. Like Freddy and Jason post part 6, like they're not killers. They're death incarnate. Like it's literally like you can't escape, you can't win. And if you can't win, there's no tension. You're just gonna fucking die. So it's like, just, you know, you might as well just sit down. You know, like fuck it. Like it's that bad. And again, like that's not scary to me. The invulnerable, invincible creature is not scary to me. It's the monster that has something to lose. You know, that crazy family that doesn't want to get caught. We can't get caught. We want to kill, but we don't want to get caught. We ain't trying to go to jail. Like we ain't trying to, you know, like that adds to the tension. But when you're just this immortal zombie ghost specter, you got nothing to lose. So it's so one-sided to where you're just death walking through these teenagers. But again, Friday the 13th, like those early movies, those are my favorite ones, because that's when, to me, Jason was actually scary. And so, because he was vulnerable, he was real, he was this deformed freak in the woods trying to kill you, and you know, and you could kill him, like you could shoot him, you could hurt him, like he was like falling and shit, getting hit, you know. But that's what gave it that tension. It was like you had a chance. If you don't have a chance, there's no tension. Now it's gore porn. And that's why I don't like the later movies as much. I mean, immediately when I hit 6, it was like I was watching a comedy. Like all the tension and scariness and the heart was gone. It was like, oh, this is just comedy now. This is fucking Evil Dead 2. You know? So yeah, man, Friday the 13th for sure. And again, like that scene where Jason's no mask on and chasing the girl in the woods, his body language was just scary as fuck to me. It was just, I gotta rape this bitch, I'm gonna choke this bitch. Like that shit was scary, bro. Whew, okay. Now, number 8, Black Christmas. Oh yeah, like this is one that I just recently watched and I was thoroughly impressed. I believe Black Christmas came out in like the mid 70s or something, and I think it was filmed and produced and created in Canada. I think it was like a Canadian horror film. But now on the surface, this kind of just seems like a generic horror, like teen slasher film. Because I mean, just a quick rundown of the actual plot is Black Christmas is about these girls who live in this sorority house, and they've been getting these weird phone calls from somebody, and it's really spooking them, really scaring them. And anyway, there's this killer on the loose in town, and really the movie is from like both perspectives. You see it from the perspective of the girls, but also the killer. And so you see the killer sort of sneak his way into the sorority house, and once he's in there, he begins killing them one by one. And again, it seems kind of simple, but I feel like what I like about Black Christmas is, like, to me, this movie embodies like that era in time where like young white women were just being kidnapped and killed like it won't nothing. Like, you know, like before the days of cameras everywhere and smartphones, like you had like the Ted Bundys running around. And I watch a lot of like unsolved mysteries type shit, and I swear, bro, like the 60s and 70s and 80s, like that was the era for killing white young women. I hate to put it like that, but that era, like motherfuckers was kidnapping young white girls and killing them like it was nothing and just getting away with it. And I feel like Black Christmas is sort of the embodiment of that era, like that, you know, that era where young white women just weren't safe. Now you can't even look at them. But back then you could just take them out like it was nothing. And again, like that, this movie just embodies that, because the killer he's not a Jason, like deformed. Well, you never really see him, so you don't really know if he's like deformed or anything, but I don't think he was, like, but he's not a monster. He's not a ghost. He's just a crazy motherfucker that like killing young white women, right? And it's deeper than just I'm in the house killing them. Because at a certain point in the film, you find out there's also like I think there's a girl that's gone missing, and the police are looking for her. And so you kind of put it together like, okay, the guy that snuck into the sorority house and is killing the girls, he must also killed this other girl that they found off in the park somewhere. So he's, you know, he's busy, right? And so alongside seeing him kill the girls one by one, there's also a police investigation where they're trying to figure out who killed this girl off in the park. And one of the girls that was in a sorority house, like, she's missing now, of course, because he, you know, put the bag over her head and all that, you know. So it's really like this race against time. Like really, I think the strongest part of this movie is the tension, because he's right there in the house with these girls and they don't realize it. And it's like people are coming in and out and motherfuckers going missing and they don't know where they at. But they're totally unaware that the killer is in the house the entire time, and they're still getting these creepy phone calls and shit. But for me, my favorite scene, like my favorite part, like the craziest part, is when I think this is when it's down to the last girl, the main girl, and I think the police, oh God, I'm getting chills just thinking about this shit. But the police, they call her and they let her know, like they tell her, all right, leave. Like oh man, this shit was good as hell. They call her and cause by this point, you know how they always do it in the movie, like trace the call, you know, and they figured out that the creepy phone calls were coming from the house. So they called the house and tell the girl, like, leave, because they didn't want to tell her that the phone call was coming from inside the house. They didn't want to scare her that bad. They just said, put the phone down, go out the front door, leave, like just go. And you know, she kind of gets it, like, okay, something's wrong. But her stupid ass, God, because her friend had just went upstairs. So instead of listening to the cop and just walking out, she's calling for her friend. and she goes upstairs, and of course she runs into the fucking killer. But the scene where she runs into the killer, that shit is scary. It's like, I think what happened was the killer was like behind a door, and she opened the door, and I think I think what happened, like, she saw through like the crack, you know, like when you crack a door open, you can see through like that crack. I think she saw like his eye, and his eye just looked like, and you never see his face, and his eye is just crazy, like this crazy eye, just full of madness. And I think right after that, he just started chasing her. And again, like, his body language was so frantic, and he was like yelling, like just the shit he was saying, like, was just incomprehensible. But it was so scary. Like, you could tell, like, this guy is out of his fucking mind. This is just a crazy ass white dude killing young white women. Like, man, that scene is just like, when he's chasing her through the house, I mean, tension through the fucking roof. You're like, go, go, go. Oh, man. But again, like, Black Christmas, man, like, I feel like this is probably one of the best, like, I hate to say, I don't mean, but, you know, young white women being killed type of slasher flick. Like, this is one of the best ones. Like, this is before it kind of went like they kind of played it out of style, and then, you know, Scream kind of brought it back by sort of deconstructing it and whatnot. But I feel like this is sort of like I mean, because this even precedes Friday the 13th, I believe. So really, I think Black Christmas is really one of the OGs of the slasher genre, alongside like Bay of Blood and stuff like that. So hell yeah, Black Christmas. Oh, got something on my glasses. Oh, fuck. I'm good. Okay. Number 7. Oh, excuse me. Oh, I'm gonna clip myself a little bit. I'm a little gassy. Okay. Number 7. La Residencia, or better known as The House That Screamed. Oh yes. Now, The House That Screamed, I believe this is another Italian horror film. I think that this is kind of old. I think it was made like 1969 or like 70, 71, like late 60s, early 70s. But yeah, it's an Italian horror film. And it's about this young lady. She goes to this boarding school for young girls. There's all girls there. And she quickly finds out that things aren't what they seem. But yeah, this boarding school is like really strict. Like, one of the early scenes, like, it shows this rebellious girl, and you know, she's been acting out in class, and so now she has to be punished. And then they show her like stripped on this bed, like tied up, and then the girl is like whipping her and like just beating her and shit like that. So it's like this strict boarding house for girls. And again, like, there's the new girl there, and you know, she acclimates pretty quickly, but at the same time, she becomes targeted by one of the girls there, who's sort of like, she's like the head mistress's like right hand girl. Like, she's like the snitch of the group of girls. Like, she's like the ass kisser. But yeah, she kind of has like a dom, like lesbian kind of vibe. Like, she's the girl that's trying to turn you out when you go there. And she targets the new girl and you know, kind of torments her a bit. But this movie is really slow. Like, this is a really slow horror film. Like, really takes a while for it to get going. But throughout the course of the movie, like, there's various little like subplots going on. Like, the head mistress has like a son, and like he has like a relationship with one of the girls, And then the girls, like, they're like sexually frustrated. So like they have this thing where like when one of the guys come and visit the boarding school, like they take turns like fucking them. I mean, it's really like different things going on other than just straightforward like killing and shit like that. It's not until like the second half of the movie that it starts getting like to that point where, you know, the girls are disappearing and whatnot. But what I like about this movie is really the ending is my favorite thing about it. Like this movie, you know, I don't want to talk about it too much because there's really no need to really spoil exactly what happens. But the reason why I like this movie is because the ending is so unexpected. Like this is one of the few times where I just didn't see it coming. Because it really does kind of amount to being sort of a murder mystery plot of who done it. And when you find out who's, you know, responsible for the girls disappearing and being killed, I mean, I was like, yo, like it hit me like from another dimension. Like a punch just came out of a fucking warp hole and just hit. I had no idea, but, and really, man, like recently, because again, past a certain point, like, you know, horror movies just don't really scare me. So now I've been really like, I appreciate stuff like this a lot. Like if a movie just can't scare me outright, then at least, you know, have a good twist, you know, have a like really surprise me towards the end. And that's what I like about The House That Screamed. Like it just, again, it's a slower horror movie, not a lot of like just gratuitous violence and stuff like that. It's a lot slower, but even the more like chill parts are still good because it gives you a lot of time to sort of like you know, become attached to the characters and learn like sort of the culture within that boarding school and how they interact with one another. And there's always like this underlying tension of darkness, again, because of just the abusive nature of the head mistress and some of the girls there. And then some of the girls start disappearing and it's like, who's responsible for it? And the main girl and her trouble with, you know, trying to fit in there and stuff like that. So, but really the strong point of this movie is its ending. Like it really blew my mind. But yeah, House of Scream. Now, number 6, The Fly. Ooh, yeah. Now, not the original Fly with Vincent Price, but The Fly remake starring Jeff Goldblum. Oh yes. Now, and you know, I went back and I watched the old Fly, the original Fly. And, you know, it's a okay, like older, you know, creature feature type horror film from the 50s and whatnot. But what I think hurt that movie so bad is I think it's like 20, like the movie starts like after the whole Fly situation happened. And it's not until like, I think like 25, 30 minutes in, like the wife has a flashback to what happened with the husband and the Fly and all that shit. I think that's what hurt that movie the most, is that the beginning is just so boring. But when it actually gets to, you know, the flashback, it's actually a kind of a decent movie. But I just wanted to mention that. But no, we're talking about The Fly remake starring Jeff Goldblum. Now, anyway, this movie is about this eccentric young scientist who has basically, he's discovered a way to transport objects through time and space. So he has like these two pods. Like he can put, let's say, he could put a cup in one pod and, you know, press some buttons, and then the cup is transported from pod A to pod B. So he's basically figured out teleportation. And, you know, the possibilities with this type of technology, I mean, I don't have to tell you, you know, like what that would mean. I mean, of course, you know, you could transport food to impoverished areas. transportation. Oh, got like no more airplane crashes, car crashes. You can just teleport to where you gotta go. So this is pretty much like the scientific discovery of the fucking century. Like this is big. But it's not, he hasn't perfected it yet. It's still sort of flawed. Now he can transport inorganic matter with ease, but once he tries to transport like living beings, the experiment doesn't work that great. There's a part where he tries to transport, like I think a baboon, and when the baboon appears in the other pod, it's totally like just deformed and rearranged and fucked up. So, it can transport, inorganic matter, but when you put a living creature in there, it's, null and void. So he's trying to figure out how can I, what changes do I need to make to my invention to make it so I can transport, living organisms and ultimately human beings. And so while this is going on, he meets this reporter. She works, I guess, for this science magazine or something, like some type of magazine, and she's just looking for a good scoop. And so he decides to show her what he's working on, and he kind of shows off the teleportation device and whatnot. And along the way, they sort of develop a romantic attraction to one another. And during their whole their intimate moments or whatnot, he sort of kind of like a eureka moment happens, and he kind of figures out like what he's been doing wrong the whole time. And so he figures out how to transport the baboon from pod A to pod B. So now he feels like, okay, I did it. I've succeeded in making a teleportation device that works not only on inorganic matter, but also on organic living beings. But of course, there's a big but. One night he gets drunk and foolishly he decides to try to transport himself through the teleporter. And so he does that. And at first it seems like it worked perfectly. He comes out he goes in pod A, comes out of pod B, perfectly fine. In fact, not only is he fine, like he's better than ever. Like he comes out and he's not, he's like, he doesn't need sleep. He's more physically fit. He's more energetic. He's more active. He's just going 100 miles an hour. Like he feels like not only did the teleportation work, but it made him better. But slowly but surely you begin to sort of realize that something is wrong. Like there's this scene where he's hanging out with the reporter girl and they're at this restaurant, and like he's super like just manic and turned up, and he's like putting like sugars in the tea and shit. So you start trying to see like, okay, something's off. Like he's just too energetic, but what is it? And just again, more and more you start to see like his behavior is changed. Like he's becoming more like violent and aggressive. And long story short, I mean, I might as well just say it. Where he fucked up at, when he went through the teleporter, there was a fly in there with him. And when he came out on the other side, the genes of the fly were spliced with his own genes. So not only did he make a teleporter, it's also a gene splicer. And so slowly he begins to transform into this sort of fly man hybrid. And that's basically what the movie is about. But what I love about this movie, other than Jeff Goldblum, like he's just awesome. other than that, like this represents a different kind of horror. Like this is like body horror. Like this isn't the fear of what's coming towards you. This is the fear of your own body sort of malfunctioning. This is the fear of what could go wrong with our own flesh. So it's a very personal kind of fear, because you slowly see him changing. His fingernails start coming off. these weird hairs grow out of his body. His teeth start falling out. His ear falls out. His skin just becomes grotesque. And there's this scene that just really there's a scene where like he's just really bad, like his hair's falling out. He's a grotesque, just a mess. He's a fucking he's horrible looking. And the girl is visiting him, and I think it's like right after, I think like an ear falls off or something, and like he just like he hugs the girl and just like tells her like, I'm scared, like I'm terrified. And like I said, that moment, man, is just it's so bad, because that's like just that's the culmination of all these different things going wrong with his body, and he just can't take it anymore. I am afraid. I am scared. What is happening to me? And again, like, it's a different type of fear. It's not the monster under the bed or the ghost or the deranged killer. It's your own body decaying and tearing itself apart and changing. I mean, it's almost like if you had the age, like just imagine being like 25 years old, and then suddenly you age rapidly, like from 20, like you age like 50 years in a month. That's kind of what it is. It's just rapid change within your body, and it's it's a different type of fear. It's the fear of your own flesh. And that's why I put The Fly at number that rhyme. That's why I put The Fly at number 6, because again, it's not the, oh, I'm gonna be killed. It's, man, my own body is just, what the fuck. and again, like, it's just scary, man. And like, I've never, of course, I've never experienced something of that level. But, and I mean, I be on R9K. And recently, like, there have been these threads of this kid who's like badly burned. Like, his eyes are gone. He has no hands. His mouth is like just hanging out of his head. And, again, like that's kind of similar to what this is. It's like it's that fear of your body just being like fucked up beyond repair. And I see people reply to that thread and they just say, man, like, just kill me, kill my ass. Like, I'd rather die than have my body be in that state. And again, it's a real type of fear that doesn't even require teleportation or the supernatural or anything sci-fi. Your body can fuck up. and if it's not the slow aging process, you could get cancer, you could get a disease or something. Like, remember fucking syphilis? Like, syphilis used to really like fuck people up back in the day. But yeah, man, it's a very real type of fear, just presented in like a sci-fi type of way. And Jeff Goldblum. Okay. Number 5. The Psychic. Okay, now this is another Italian horror film. If you haven't noticed, I love Italian horror. But, okay. Now, The Psychic is a movie about this young woman who, ever since she was a kid, she would have these premonitions. Like, she would see like into the future things that would happen. In the beginning of the movie, they show her having a premonition about her mother committing suicide. And like, she starts freaking out. And her teacher's like, hey, chill out, like, everything's okay. But it turns out her mom really did commit suicide. So from there, she knew, like, okay, I have some type of power. I just don't fully understand it. So fast forward, she's happily married. She's moving on with her life, and just enjoy. Like, she's young, she's beautiful. She married a rich, powerful man. Everything's going perfect. But then she has another vision. She has this vision that she's in this room, and there's all these little details, there's a lit cigarette sitting on an ashtray. There's a broken mirror, just different details. Then she sees like a flash, like this older woman who's like beaten in the head and dying or dead. And then she sees this wall where there's a body, or like there's a wall where there's like a skeleton inside of it. And that ends up being like pretty much the focal point of the movie. So, okay, it's like, whatever. I had a premonition, whatever. Like, I don't know what's going on. So, moving forward, her husband ends up going overseas on a trip or something. So, her job, she's a house decorator. So, to surprise her husband, she goes to one of his properties to sort of redecorate that, like just fix it up, like just fix up one of his properties that's sort of decaying and falling apart. And so she goes to this room and she realizes this is the room that I saw in my premonition. This is the room where I saw the wall that was sort of like that had had this section that was covered up, had a skeleton in it. So she's looking around trying to find the spot that she saw her premonition, and lo and behold, she finds this little area where it looked like somebody kind of covered something up. So she goes and gets a pickaxe and she breaks through this little part in the wall and she finds a skeleton. So somebody died. Somebody pretty much killed someone and put them in the wall and covered it up. So she calls the police. Now, of course, since she found the skeleton in her husband's on one of his properties, the police instantly suspect the husband as the killer. Not only that, but then they're looking at her like, how did you know it was there if you didn't know anything about it? Because again, she only knew about it because, premonition, so they're very suspicious of these two. So her husband ends up getting arrested because they think he did it. So the movie is basically about her trying to figure out who actually killed this girl so that she can prove the innocence of her husband. That's basically the gist of the movie. Now, what I like about this movie, other than the outstanding opening theme song, I love that song. The beginning is good. It's sort of like, it's her finding the body and then trying to prove her husband's innocence. But to me, the strongest part, like the part of this movie that I love, is like the last, like I think that movie's about an hour and 40 minutes or something. I don't remember, but I think the last 40 minutes or so, man, the tension is, oh God, the tension is so high because like she's getting closer and closer to figuring out who killed this girl. And like, there's a red herring. It's like there's just all these distractions. Like you're trying to figure out who did it and what's really going on. And all. I mean, I'm not gonna go into too much detail about it, but it's again like the last 40 minutes of this movie. The tension is just so serious. I was on the edge of my seat. No lie. Like I was like, go, like, oh man. Really just some of the best minutes of cinema I have ever fucking watched. Oh man. And the ending is it's sort of open-ended. Like the ending is like, it's beautiful, but it's bad at the same time. It's that kind of ending that's like, it doesn't reveal the outcome, but it could have went either way. You never know. And those type of endings are sort of bittersweet because on one hand, you don't get the satisfaction of having a conclusive ending. But at the same time, like those type of endings, it leaves it open for interpretation for years to come. And again, like this movie it's a beautiful fucking piece, man. I mean, it seems so simple. Like it's really like some Death So Raven shit. And again, like the beginning is, it's okay, but I feel like where it really shines, like is the last 40 minutes when she gets closer and closer to the truth. I mean, again, it's like you're just on pins and needles, just trying to just wanting to know like what's gonna happen. Like, you're so close, you're in so much danger. It's like, wow, man, it is. Whew, that is a tough like that ending, man, is man, it'll have you fucked up for a while. Okay, now number 4. The Thing. No, not the 2011 The Thing. No, not the Thing from the, what was it, 1950s. Man, yo, let me tell you something. I told my mom that I was watching The Thing, and because I was watching like all three of them, like the old one, the 80s one, and the new one. And she said that she wanted them on DVD. And so, I did my thing and got her a DVD of The Thing. And I swear she loves the old one, the 1950 something The Thing. Oh man, I swear every morning she will watch that fucking movie before going to sleep. Like that, I think that's probably her favorite one because she watched the hell out of that one. But no, I'm talking about The Thing. The 1980s thing. I think Kurt Russell was the guy that it stars, and Keith David is in it as well. But yeah, just a quick plot summary for those who are not aware. The Thing is about this group of men who are sort of stationed on this base. I forgot exactly what their job was. I don't think it's like a military base or something. It's some type of research base. Located in Antarctica. A small group of men, probably about, I think it's about 10, maybe, one, a little bit more, a little less. And, they're just out there posted up, doing their thing and whatnot. And this dog comes running towards their base. And this dog, he's being pursued by this guy in a helicopter who's trying to kill this dog. And so these people at the base, they're like, why is this guy trying to kill this dog? And anyway, the guy trying to kill the dog, he ends up getting killed. I think he blows himself up, or like one of the guys at the base shoots him because he's looking violent and crazy and shit. So they never figure out why he's trying to kill this dog. So it's like, whatever, and one of the guys there, like, he's really into dogs. Like, he's like a dog fetish, like furry freak. I don't know. So he takes the dog in, under his wing and whatnot. Well, it turns out this dog is not your average fucking dog. Who would have thought? This dog is actually an alien that was discovered underground in Antarctica by another group that was stationed in Antarctica. And now this alien has the ability to replicate living organisms so that it copies things, anything from animals to humans, and then sort of blends into that group so that it can sort of, kill them one by one, while at the same time replicating them and creating copies of them. And that's basically its gimmick. It can copy living organisms, and then it disposes of them, and then it sort of blends in so it can do the same to everyone else. Now, it doesn't take long before the Thing to start doing this job. It gets to work pretty quickly. It starts, copying and disposing of some of the members, the crew at this base located in Antarctica. And as they begin to sort of figure out that something isn't right, they sort of have to come together to deal with this alien threat. But again, because the alien is able to replicate them, they don't know who they can trust. But this alien is able to blend in almost seamlessly. It takes on the characteristics and the personality of the person that they replicate almost perfectly, that you would never know. And it sort of waits for the opportune time to expose itself so that it can attack and replicate another human being. And so, as you would imagine, this whole movie is basically about these guys just having to kind of come together, while at the same time trying to figure out, can I trust you? Can I trust myself? Talk about who can I trust? as we try to come together to destroy this alien creature. And it's very important because the good thing about it is that they're isolated on Antarctica, so the alien threat is sort of at least quarantined where they are. But if it manages to take over, if it manages to kill off the last remaining humans, then it's only a matter of time before they go off to the mainland, and then, you know, it's game over. You know, once it gets to, you know, the mainland, it's only a matter of time before, you know, it just takes everything over. So it's vital that they, you know, stop the threat right then and there. But now, I like a lot of things about this movie. I mean, it's no shortage of things like about this movie, but again, like, this is a unique kind of fear. Like, this is a different type of fear we're dealing with here. Like, this, again, this isn't or at least this isn't just what's coming after me. This is the fear of, you know, your fellow man. You know, who can I trust? Can I trust the guy that's standing right beside me? You know, and again, the way the alien infiltrates this group and causes division and distrust among them, that's his power, that's his gimmick, that's his special ability that gives it its edge. And you as the viewer, like, you don't even know, like, who is or who isn't the thing, who hasn't been replicated, and it's just an alien waiting to spring its attack on the remaining survivors. So it kind of has like this mystery vibe to it. Like, okay, who's it? Like, who's an alien and who's not? And then you see them trying to figure it out as well. Like, okay, who can I trust? And they're just in absolute chaos trying to figure out, like, you know, can I trust him? Can I not? And whatnot. But other than that, I love the whole setting, the whole vibe of the movie. Like, it's this sort of, not necessarily like cabin in the woods, but it's like just this isolated base, in like the snowy wilderness, you know, and you can't even really like just go outside because it's so cold. Like you can only be outside like a certain amount of time before you freeze to death or whatnot. So again, it's like you're just so stuck. Like you can't like, there's nowhere to run. Like, at least if it's a cabin in the woods, like, you can get in the car and, you know, get away. Here, there was nowhere to run. Like, you're in this isolated base in, you know, this harsh weather. Like, you can barely stand to be outside. So, like, you're really stuck and you got to deal with this situation. But there's also like this comfy vibe, you know, because early on, before all the shit starts, you know, again, it's a small crew. You know, we're all friendly with one another. We all got our little personality quirks or whatnot. You know, you get to know the characters and shit. It's really kind of chill and laid back. And it's just slowly, you know, the truth begins to unfold as they figure out what's going on. You know, they take the dog in and he's doing his thing. And then, you know, they go and investigate the base. And they see that it's been destroyed, and they see like these weird creatures and shit. So slowly they begin to kind of see like, oh, something isn't right. And yeah, just the whole process from the beginning to them figuring out what's actually going on is like just this comfortable, slow unraveling of, you know, this sci-fi alien mystery. And then once they figure out what's going on, it's just all out chaos from there. And it's just, man, I mean, like, this is just really, the thing is just like, this is some good horror Kino. I think the thing deserves the Kino badge for sure. And really another good thing about it is, you know, for its time, the special effects were actually like very good. Like, they use a lot of like practical special effects. Like, this before the days like CGI and all that shit. Like, this is when you had like puppets and you know, dolls and just everything had to be handmade. And really a lot of the effects, you know, they like they have stood the test of time. Of course, there's a certain, there's certain scenes like, okay, that's kind of, that looks fake. But for the most part, it stands the test of time. And that's really important, man, because when you see like those obvious fake looking moments, like fake special effects and, fake looking creatures and movements, it can kind of take you out of the movie for a second. Like I was just watching Terminator, the first one, and I love that movie. But when they're doing this, when they're showing the scene where the Terminator is picking his eye out, and you kind of see like where it kind of switches from Arnold to the animatronic, it kind of takes you out of it for a second. But I feel like the thing, for the most part, a lot of special effects, it's really stood the test of time. But yeah, like the thing for me is probably what I think is one of the best sci-fi horror films of all time. Like The Thing is the golden standard of sci-fi horror, in my opinion, for sure. Where are we? Okay. Next, Evil Dead. Number 3, Evil Dead. Yes, Evil Dead. But not the original Evil Dead. No, not 1981 starring Bruce Campbell, Sam Raimi. No. Now, before you cut my head off, before you jump on my ass, you bitch, you bastard, how dare you? Bruce Campbell, Ash, Groovy. Let me explain myself now. Why would I pick Evil Dead 2013 over all the other ones? Now, don't get me wrong. I love every single Evil Dead movie. I love them. It's one of my favorite horror franchises of all time. But I have to be honest, I am not a big fan of comedy horror. When I look for horror, I look for horror. I'm not looking out for comedy horror. Now, don't get me wrong, I enjoy it. Like when I come across it, like especially stuff like Shaun of the Dead, it's pretty good. And of course, Army of Darkness, whatnot. Like comedy horror can be good, but it's not what I look for. I like straight horror. I like movies that kind of take itself seriously. And the thing about the original Evil Dead was that it was never intended to be a comedy horror. Like that was never the intention. It was made with the intention of being a serious horror film. It was just that it was so low budget. You had an amateur director, an amateur cast and crew. They had about $20 to make the movie. It just ended up being really, just being like, it's like the god. It is the forefather of like B horror movies. Like it is no doubt on the Mount Rushmore of like bad, quote, bad B horror movies. And it launched the career of Bruce Campbell and the directing career of Sam. Like it's an important film. I love it. But the problem with it is that it's so many goofs. It's so many moments in the movie where it's just so obviously fake, or there are just these continuity errors and inconsistencies and shit. Just for example, you got parts where you will literally see an actor and his hair is like longish, and it'll like just switch. Like just the next second, his hair is shorter. And so that's obviously a scene where they went back like months later and filmed it and sort of inserted in, and his hair was different. Like that's how like bad some of those, like how bootleg that movie really is. And again, like just a lot of bad special effects. There's one scene where like the girl's like suspended in the air and you see the wire holding her up. Again, it's so many moments like that, and they just take you out of it. I remember the first time I'll never forget the first time I watched Evil Dead. I was legitimately like kind of creeped out. Like it's actually kind of a creepy movie, especially like the beginning when I think it's Cheryl when she gets possessed. Like, it's legitimately like some creepy shit. But it doesn't take long before, just the bad special effects and the low budget to sort of get in the way of that spookiness of what was once legitimately, kind of scary is now kind of like, all right, that just kind of killed me. It kills the immersion. That's it's so many just poorly, just so many just moments that kill the immersion because it's so obvious, just bad, low budget special effects and just poor editing and stuff like that. I mean, I feel like it really hurts. But again, that's sort of what launched Evil Dead going in a different direction. Like, because again, despite all its flaws, it's still highly regarded in terms of the world of horror. And again, it led Evil Dead to going down that path of comedy horror. But with the first one, it wasn't intentional. It was literally just unintentional. And from there, it became intentional. And they're good movies. I love Evil Dead 2. Army of Darkness is, whoa, love that shit. But again, like, my heart is at, like, I love serious horror. Like, that's my shit. I love horror movies I could take seriously. And that's, I want to be scared. I want tension. And I can't get that from Evil Dead 2 or Evil Dead Army of Darkness or whatnot. And so the reason why I picked Evil Dead 2013 over the other ones is because I feel like that movie gave us an opportunity to see Evil Dead the way it was meant to be. The way the first movie, the way it would have been had it been in the hands of more experienced director, actors, a big budget and whatnot. Because it's actually, it's really one of the forefathers of the cabin in the woods horror setting, that whole situation. And, demonic possession. It's a pretty solid idea for a horror movie. And it's a shame that the low budget and poor editing and whatnot kind of, well, really, again, because you can't really say that because of what it led to. It's good and bad. On one hand, we weren't able to enjoy the movie the way it was meant to be, but what it led to made it all worth it. Like, it made Bruce Campbell and the Ads character legendary. So I wouldn't take that back for anything. But I'm glad that we have the remake because it gave us opportunity to see the movie the way it was meant to be seen. Like, that movie is probably my horror movie of this decade. Like, is that good to me. I love that movie. But now that I'm done explaining myself, let me actually talk about. I had to defend myself because I don't want to get killed. But all right, but. Basically, The Evil Dead is about this group of friends, of course. They go off to a cabin in the woods, of course, to help their friend get off drugs. What? Now, right off the bat, I love that. Like, this isn't your typical, oh, we're just going to go get drunk and party and smoke weed and fuck. No, we're here on serious business. Like, the main character's sister, our best friend, is addicted to drugs, and it's so bad to the point where she almost overdosed and died. This shit is serious. So right out the gate, the vibe of it is dark, and it's not, oh, let's have fun in the cabin in the woods. We gotta get her all drugs or she's gonna die. So right off the bat, the entire feel of it is just negative and dark. It's on that darker side, and it's only getting started. They go into the cabin and it's broken down and creepy and dark and smelly and it's weird shit, voodoo stuff and Book of the Dead. Just again, out the gate, it just dark shit, man. So they're sort of settling into the cabin, they're reunited with one another and, brother and sister, friends and whatnot. And it doesn't take long before the sister to start tripping out. Because if you don't know, when people try to get off drugs, they go through like some serious withdrawals. Like it's no joke. Withdrawals drive you fucking crazy. And again, that's why they took her out to the cabin in the woods. Like they knew they needed to isolate her from everything to help her get off these drugs, because it's gonna get hard before it gets better. And knowing that, they knew that was probably the best place to take her. Well, in hindsight, But anyway, they end up going down to the basement of the cabin, and they find various things. But among the objects that they find this book that's wrapped up in garbage, like trash bag and like barbed wire. And so one of the characters, he takes it upon himself to figure out what's, he opens the trash bag and pulls off the barbed wire, and he discovers the Book of the Dead. Now, he recites a passage out of this book, and basically what it does is it allows evil spirits to possess the living, and when they possess the living, they begin to kill everything that's around them. So again, he reads the passage, and suddenly the sister is possessed by an evil demon spirit. And again, she's already tripping out because of the withdrawal and shit. And then she tries to get into the car and run, drive away, because she's really spooked. Because she's like on one hand, she's going through withdrawal. She's acting like drug crazy, junkie crazy, whatnot. But she's also kind of spiritual. So she's tuned in to like this evil dark shit that's going on. She even said like, y'all shouldn't have touched that stuff in the basement. She can feel like she, she's kind of, I guess she's in like some fucking walking shit. I don't know, but she's that type of girl. So she knows more so than the other guys that, this place is something wrong here, but they don't really take it seriously because, they know like she's a drug addict. She'll do anything to try to get out of here. So they're not really buying it. But after she tries to escape, she ends up going to the woods, and she gets raped by some trees. Yes, raped by some trees. Yeah, man, it's great. But again, even that scene is done like much better than how it was in the original Evil Dead. But of course, that's just kind of special effects and all that, budget things. But yeah, and long story short, now that she's been possessed by the demon, it begins to take over her. And then, now she begins acting all, demonic, not just, drug withdrawal crazy, but now she's demonic crazy. And she begins trying to kill her friends one by one. And then, somebody else gets possessed, and then it's all hell from there. And I swear, man, one of my favorite scenes in this movie is when things are just getting bad. Like everything's getting bad, and the brother, I think his name is David. He says, everything is gonna be fine, and then I think who was it? It was Eric. He said, everything's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be fine. I don't know if you noticed this, but everything's only been getting worse like every second. I love that because it is so accurate to what like the whole, just everything that happened up to that point. Again, the second they get there, it's like, oh, we got to get her off drugs. Like, we're not here for fun. And it's downhill. It's never a bright moment. It's never like a good positive moment throughout the whole movie until like the end, I guess, like the very, very, very end. But again, it's just this dark, wild roller coaster ride of horror. Like, it's never a dull moment, and it's never really any type of like positive vibe. It's always just always like worry and stress and negativity. That's just negative energy. And again, like that's the beauty of it, man. And again, like not even really talking about like the actual horror shit. Like, I mean, I could talk about that for hours. I mean, some of the most best violent, gory horror scenes I've ever seen. especially when Eric, I think is his name, when he's looking for the girl and she's going up to the bathroom, he goes in there and she's been possessed. She's cutting her face off with glass, and then like he slips on her fucking skin and falls and busts his ass on the toilet. Then she jumps on him and she's stabbing him. I mean, again, like that scene is just so awesome. And then there's another scene where like one of the girls, she's possessed and she has like a nail gun. I mean, and she's just shooting nails at them and they're like trying to dodge the nails and shit. It's so like once it gets started, it never stops. And then the climactic final battle, when the girl gets the chainsaw and she's fighting like the evil incarnation girl thing. I don't know what the fuck that was, but again, like man, like throughout the whole movie, man, especially once the demonic possessions actually start, man, again, one of the best horror movies of this decade without a doubt, and it's certainly deserving of the number 3 spot on this list. I love this movie. Oh man. Okay. Now, number 2, Night of the Living Dead. Of course, the George Romero classic. I think for like 68, 7, something like that. Now, Night of the Living Dead is pretty much considered to be like really the grandfather of zombie movies. I mean, I'm sure there probably were zombie movies before that, but this set the standard. Like this Night of the Living Dead is like the zombie movie. Like that is it. Like that is, like really, and well deserving of that recognition. But I'm gonna talk about the plot a little bit. Now, Night of the Living Dead is about this girl and her brother. They go to a cemetery to visit, I believe, the grave of like their father or an aunt or something. And just to leave some flowers and whatnot, pay their respects. And when they go there, they run into this man. Now, this man, he ends up attacking the sister. So the brother, he attacks the man, and he ends up getting, I think he gets knocked out during the confrontation. So it's like, why did this man just randomly attack us? Spoiler alert, he's a zombie. So the zombie chases the girl through the cemetery, through the woods, and she ends up running to this big farmhouse, pretty much in the middle of nowhere. And she kind of locks herself up in there. And while she's there, this man arrives on a truck. And from there, they sort of, he, he takes it upon himself to board up the house, find weapons and, kill whatever zombies are lingering around. Let me fortify this house because something is horribly wrong in this town. He himself had just escaped from a horde of zombies. So, he's kind of privy to what's going on. So they board up the house, they kill the lingering zombies, and they just kind of, he's talking to her about what's going on, trying to, I guess, calm her down and try to figure out, what's going on with her. And it doesn't take long for them to discover that there's actually a group of survivors that have already been hiding in the basement of the house that they board themselves up in. And, there's a lot of tension because, the main character guy, he doesn't get along with the father that's down there in the basement because they can't agree on whether it's better to be in the basement and stay in there or to try to fortify, the entire house and maybe try to even formulate a plan to escape. But essentially, the overall premise is very simple. It's just a group of survivors in a farmhouse trying to survive a night of the living dead. Whew. Now, I love this movie. And really what I think what I love about horror movies in general, I love I love these situations where, there's chaos, something's not right. And we as a community, we have to come together. We have to band together to try to overcome it. We got to work together to, survive, this bad, horrible situation. That's what I like about horror movies in general. Like just a group of survivors trying to overcome, a horrible, horrible adversity. And Night of the Living Dead is kind of really one of my favorites in terms of that, because with a lot of horror movies, it takes a while before everybody kind of figures out something is wrong. It takes about 3 or 4 or 5 people to get killed before they realize, oh wait, something's wrong, and then they kind of come together. But with this, it is you have this group that they all know like something is wrong. We have this house. Let's fortify it. Let's get food. Let's get supplies. Let's get radio, TV. Let's do everything we can to try to survive the night. And the whole like zombie genre, it's a special kind of horror because it's not it's not the one creature, the one killer, the one thing, it's almost like it's like horror, but in the form of a natural disaster. Like zombies are like very similar to like a hurricane or a tornado or a very dangerous storm or tsunami, because it's this epidemic, this mass problem that affects an entire community. Like I know whenever there's a hurricane, I mean, my whole area, like the vibe changes. Like you go to the grocery store, everybody's buying supplies and water bottles and shit like that. My mom is like, we got to get flashlights and candles because we don't know. Because, my state is a pretty bad flood area. So that just, there's this different vibe and sense of community about the upcoming disaster. And that's what I like about zombie movies in general. Again, it's like the horror theme, but instead of like just this isolated group, just 5 teens in a cabin in the woods, or somebody in an apartment, or one killer in the city, it's like everybody is affected. We're all affected by the zombie epidemic. And you have everything from just a few zombies here and there to entire hordes. And I think that's what makes the whole subgenre of zombie horror unique. Again, it's horror, but in the form of a natural disaster. Well, unnatural disaster that affects the entire community. And then we have to band together to overcome it. So that's what I like about this movie and other zombie movies. But again, Night of the Living Dead, I feel like just has to take this spot because again, it's the granddaddy of them all. Really, it's and it has all those themes of the band of survivors coming together. Get the guns and get the supplies, and not only that, it's affecting a large scale, like it's affecting a large area. Like they look at the TV and they're letting people know, we have shelters, and the police are involved, and the military, they're doing their part. Like it's a big city. Like the movie focuses on this small group of survivors, but at the same time, this zombie thing is affecting the entire area, and you never really know how widespread it is. You just know that it's widespread. Like, is it global or is it just one state? What caused it? You never really know, but it's definitely like sort of a widespread thing. You just don't know how widespread. But again, I just love I mean, man, just kind of go off course a little bit. In Resident Evil 4, one of my favorite parts is when you go to the house and you meet Louis, and Louis and Ashley are in the house together, and like there's all these like the quote unquote zombies trying to break into it, and you kind of y'all team up to kill the like that's kind of similar to the vibe in Night of the Living Dead, just way more fast paced. But I love that. Like I hate to say it because it's stupid to say it, but out of all the hard situations I could be in, I think I would want to be in the zombie situation, not the fast, running zombie, but the classic slow zombie situation, because it's something that you feel like you could overcome, because by yourself if you got a baseball bat, you could probably kill about 15, 20. Like you got a chance. Before the zombies got all fast and shit, like you actually got a chance. And I think there's something exciting about overcoming that type of dark, horrific challenge with other people. And I think it's similar to the thrill of getting on a roller coaster or going to like a haunted house or something. Like, it's always fun because you're doing like you're facing this scary thing with your friends. And it's sort of weird to apply that, to a horror movie, but that's kind of what I really like about Night of the Living Dead. Is just like it's almost comfy in a way. Like, once they get the house fortified and they have the zombies at bay, they got guns, they got food, they're together. It's almost like this. It's almost like a comfy vibe, at least while the peace actually lasts. And then, of course, the peace gets disrupted by the zombies. But like those small moments of peace here and there within the movie where we're together, we're safe for now. I like that. It's really like the perfect movie to just put on and just kind of just fall and just get immersed into, like, you almost feel like you're in the house with them. And that's what I really like about this movie, man. Like, you almost feel like you're there surviving with them. Oh yeah. But coming up is number 1. Stay tuned. Okay. Number 1. My favorite horror movie of all time. Drum roll, please. Okay, whatever. The Texas Chainsaw Mascara. No, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Oh man, here it is. Here's the one, man. It seems like everybody has that one movie that just scarred them for life. That movie that just traumatized them as a child. For some people, it's Child's Play. For some people, it's Friday the 13th. For some people, it's Freddy. Freddy's a big one, man, because I can't even go to sleep. Damn. But for me, it's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Oh, yeah. And I don't know which one I saw first. To this day, I don't remember, like, because I think I sporadically saw like different ones, like bits and pieces of different ones, because I was always too afraid to look at the whole thing as a kid. But there's a scene from Texas Chainsaw Part 3 that I'll never forget. I think like that, like now my favorite one is the first one. But I think a scene from the third one, which really isn't that highly regarded, but it has one scene that I think really it cemented my fear of Leatherface for years to come. There's a scene in Part 3, and I'll never forget, man. I was a kid. We might have rented it from Blockbuster or something, and somebody was watching, and it was dark, and I was just, I remember laying in the bed and just covering my eyes and turning my head and all that. But it was one scene I saw, I'll never forget. The brother and sister, they're running through the woods, and the brother, his foot gets caught in a bear trap, and Leatherface is chasing him, and he tells the sister, go, leave. And he just stuck, laying on the ground, bear trap, and Leatherface just comes up to him with a chainsaw. And you know how that goes. But that scene from the third one, that shit fucked me up. Cause just the thought, like just that imagery, that just the thought of being in that situation, like you run through the woods scared, somebody has a chainsaw, you step in a fucking bear trap, you can't run, you can't get up, you can't do shit to defend yourself. And this guy just runs up. This guy with a mask made of flesh, other people's faces, just runs up to you with a chainsaw, and he's just gonna fuck you up. That is the stuff of nightmares. Oh man, I think like that was the one that like that scene is what like fucked me up. And for years, I could not watch that movie. For years, like it was. I remember there was a time where like somebody was watching the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, the 2003 remake, and again, like I had to cover my eyes, like I could not look, I could not look. Like that was the one that movie that those movies affected me more than anything, and I think the fear of Leatherface goes back to what I said earlier about why I chose Friday the 13th Part 3 is when a killer is overpowered, it's not that scary to me. But when they're real, when it's a human who's vulnerable, but also like, just stronger and faster, crazier, has the advantage because of a weapon. Like that's that perfect balance of strength. And I think what makes the Texas Chainsaw Massacre so scary to me is that it's like Leatherface is a very real possibility. It's nothing for a big, retarded, crazy guy to get a chainsaw and just start killing motherfuckers. Like this, it's so down to earth, so simple, but also terrifying. And I think it's also the mind state of a Leatherface. Like he's not sane. He's totally insane. He has like the mind almost of like a deranged child. And so it's like the thought of being in the grasp of like this isn't someone that just kills people. He captures them. He tortures them. He maims them. I mean, he's cutting limbs off and your face and shit and put you on a hook to dry it. I mean, guys, like he plays with you. Like, so it's like not only does he want to kill you, like he wants to torture you and take body parts and play. God, just really just desecrating your fucking body, man, and turning you inside out. And again, I think the insanity just his twisted mind just adds to it, because it's like there's no rhyme or reason to what he does. It's like the madness of his mind is projected onto your body through hammers and knives and chainsaw. It's terrifying to me. It's absolutely terrifying. And again, he's not a specter or a ghost or an alien. Like, he's a man, just a deranged man, a deranged, almost childlike man that just loves to torture and kill people. And his presence as well, his presence on screen, he's almost like a fucking wrecking ball of a killer. Like, he's not the sly, I'm gonna ease up on you and slit your throat. I mean, it's like he either just gonna boom, sledgehammer across their head, or bust through the door, chainsaw, roar. And really part of it is his choice of weaponry. Like, a chainsaw, it's this loud, roaring weapon that just it's hot and it's sharp, and it's like, it's no way it can hit you and you'll be all right. It's like it could graze you, and it's like, oh fuck, you know. It's just to imagine, like, would you rather be stabbed or be cleanly slashed with a chainsaw? Like, would you rather be shot or like cleanly? Like, it is the most horrifying, violent weapon. I mean, it's just and it is, oh man, it's almost like he got a fucking lightsaber. It's that bad. It's like you can't even touch it. Like, you can't even like try to fight back, because it's like all you gotta do is just swing it and he taking fingers or something. Oh God, I mean, the combination of his big, imposing, intimidating figure, because he's always a big man. He's big and strong, but mentally he's always also deranged. So, you know, like, you can't reason with him. Like, you know, well, part two, you know, you know, the radio scene, you know, you got, you know, those kind of, you know, but, you know, for the most part, you can't reason with, like, there's no talking, there's no bet. It's the motherfucking crazy. But also, again, his weapons of choice. So he got this big man with a deranged childlike mind and one of the most scary weapons you could ever be faced with. It's just, I mean, to me, nothing scarier could bust through the door right now other than Leatherface. It's just boom. Like, that is just horrifying to me. Oh God. But I haven't even talked about the movie. I had to break down the trauma. Oh man. But let me actually talk about the film. Now, and of course why I picked this one. Now, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is really considerably a low budget horror film, but done as string, like, they put every dollar to good use. This shit was low budget. And in fact, I think the budget was around like $80,000 or $120,000 or something, which is really low budget. But it was made in about, I think, was it 1973 or 76? Definitely like mid or early 70s horror. And it's about this group of friends. They're riding in a van through Texas, and they're going to visit the grave of one of the friends' grandfather, because recently in the area there have been these grave robbings and desecration of various corpses, like people stealing corpses and, you know, putting them up like scarecrows and shit. So they just go there to visit the cemetery to make sure like their grandfather grave hasn't been disturbed. So they go there, they visit the cemetery, and everything's fine other than, scarecrow dead bodies hanging around and shit. And before they leave, they decide to stop by like one of the friends, like I think the old grandfather's house or something like that. And by this point, it's abandoned and all that. But before they even do that, they pick up this hitchhiker. And I mean, he's just weird. I mean, this guy is really just fucking weird. And he's just talking about weird shit, like working at a slaughterhouse and enjoying killing the animals in brutal ways, like with sledgehammers and shit. And he takes a picture of the gang, and like he tries to get them to pay for it, but then he sets it on fire once they decide not to pay for it. He pulls out a knife and he cuts Franklin, one of the young men in the van. Just all around, he's just acting fucking crazy in the van to the point where they gotta kick him out. And that's really just the start of it all. Then they stop by a gas station for gas, but for whatever reason, this gas station doesn't have any gas, so they're kind of stranded in this area. They're stranded, like they just ran into this crazy hitchhiker guy. They don't have any gas, so it's like, well, let's just stop by your old grandfather's house that's abandoned. We'll hang out there, and then we'll go look for gas somewhere else. So they go to the old grandfather's house. It's abandoned, cobwebs, all that. Just kind of, just hanging out, having fun and shit. And two of them, young couple, they decide to go off by themselves, to go, I guess there's like a water hole that was supposed to be somewhere. So they go off, and they find this old farmhouse. And so the guy, he gets the idea, oh, we need gas. Maybe these guys have some gas. So they go to the farmhouse. And the girl, she kind of just goes and just sits on the swing or something. And the guy, he goes to the house, knock on the door, trying to get some gas. So he knocks on the door, nobody answers. But he hears something going on in there. So he's like, okay, maybe somebody's in there, but they're distracted or something. So I'll just, just ease in and just see if I can find them or whatnot. Hopefully they won't mind. He goes into the house, and he goes in there, and he sort of like trips. And when he looks up, there's Leatherface with a sledgehammer, and he just says, boom! Like, just knocks him across the fucking head, knocks him out instantly. He has like a little short seizure, and then Leatherface hits him again, like, boom, boom. Then he drags the boy's body like deeper into like the little room, and then he just slams like this shutter door shut. I mean, and from there, it's just hell on earth. Like, that's where it all begins. It does. I mean, as you would imagine, from there, it's pretty much just killing the rest of the guys off one by one until you have your legendary lone female survivor. Oh yeah, but I'm just talking about like just some of the scenes I like from that. And again, like the scene I just described, again, that is one of the best horror scenes ever, man. And not just the fact that he just bludgeoned this guy and dragged him into his little like torture chamber, but the way he slams like that door shut. Like, it's not even a door. It's like a fucking sliding like shutter, like steel. It's just like that shit closes, and it's just like you ain't never coming out. Like, you see that shit close, and it's like all bets are off. You about to get like limbs. I mean, you about to get fucked up for real. Like, you about to get tortured. He about to do some unspeakable shit to your ass, and whew, man. And another like oh man. Another one of my favorite parts in this is this is after I think like most of the friends they've gone missing at this point. Well, missing, and it's down to the brother and sister. Franklin, I think the girl's named Sally, and it's dark. Like it is pitch black outside, and they're at the van and they're stuck because again, no gas, and everybody's gone missing at this point. And the brother, he's in a fucking wheelchair, and he's scared. Like he's a scary type of dude. Like he's scared as fuck, man. Cause he's already had a bad encounter with the hitchhiker who cut him and shit. And he's stuck in a wheelchair, so he's vulnerable. He can't really defend himself. So he's just terrified. And the sister, she's scared too because her boyfriend is missing, and the other couple is missing, and it's dark, and it's a. I love that scene so much. It's just like, like they are just scared to death because there's no way they've forgotten about the hitchhiker, and that already gonna put bad thoughts in your head, and then the rest of your friends are missing. You just gotta think something bad has happened, and it's pitch black. And so Sally decides to go off and try to find the other friends, but Franklin doesn't want to be left alone. He's in a wheelchair. He's a fat guy in a wheelchair. He doesn't want to be stuck alone at the van. So he tells Sally to like push him in the wheelchair through the woods, and she doesn't want to do that because like, I'm going to push you through the woods in the dark with a flashlight. It is just the most stressful. I think that is one of the most stressful situations I have ever seen in a horror, like at least as far as like pre-horror, like before you're actually being chased and you know what's wrong. Like just to imagine being in that situation, your friends are missing, it's pitch black dark, you're a girl, your brother's in a wheelchair, and he wants you to push him through the woods in this little old rickety wheelchair. He's a fat guy in a wheelchair, I got no weapons. I mean, just a recipe for absolute fear. And while she's pushing him in the wheelchair through the woods, Leatherface comes out of fucking nowhere, chainsaw just blazing hot, roaring, and he just cuts Franklin up into like a little shish kebab pieces. He just and what follows is one of the most legendary lone female survivor like chases in horror history. Like really, did the Texas Chainsaw Massacre like sort of start that, like the lone female survivor? Oh man, but without a doubt, one of the best like chase scenes in a horror movie. I mean, the way he chases her through the woods and through the town. She ends up in the house and and out of the house and back to the gas station. And then it turns out the guy that runs the gas station, like he's like the fucking dad, and he ends up kidnapping her and taking her to the house. Whew, man. And then the whole dinner sequence, like when she gets captured and they tie her up, and they have her at their dinner table, and the hitchhiker and Leatherface and the dad. I guess he's the dad. He's the uncle. He's something, but like they just got her tied up, and she just freaked out. It's like she just saw her brother get killed. She doesn't know what happened to the rest of everybody. I don't think she ever finds out. Like she never like discovers their bodies or anything. She just knows like it can't be good. And she's tied up. And you got this freak staring at you who has like this face, like somebody else's face on his face. And the weird hitchhiker and this old man, it's like, I think like that scene is literally like hell. Like now that I think about it, like that's what makes that scene like you ever just think about like what if you were in hell? Like I think for the less imaginative among us, like you would just think, just I'm on fire 24/7. But when you really think about hell, like you can think of some fucked up shit. And I think the dinner table scene in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like that's like, okay, that's hell. Like that is just pure. It is such a bizarre scene. And really, bizarre is the perfect word for, like, at this point, it goes into like just like that scene is new territory in as far as horror. I've seen a lot of horror movies, and in terms of that era, not a lot of movies have scenes that even come close to that. You know, like that just pushed it in, like, that pushed like horror into bizarro land. That didn't, it's just so free. And the way they film her, like, just like the sound, like the, and her face is like distorted, and she's looking around and she's screaming and she's bloody and torn up from running through thorns and woods and shit, tied up and scared. And they're just looking at her and laughing, and like they like got lazy eyes and shit. Ooh, oh God, man. Whew. Damn. But eventually she ends up escaping, and the horror just continues. The chase continues. After she ends up escaping from the House of Horrors, Leatherface and the hitchhiker, they're chasing after her. And the hitchhiker, he ends up getting hit by a car and killed, but Leatherface is like hot on pursuit. And basically she ends up getting away by hopping on the back of a truck that's passing by. And of course he drives away. It's kind of funny because you can see the driver like looking behind him, like, what the fuck? Who the fuck? Like, what the fuck is going on? And Sally's on the back of the truck, like covered in blood, clothes torn up, and she's just laughing like, and Leatherface is like right behind her, but you know, of course, he doesn't have a car, so he's just kind of swinging the chainsaw angrily, like just like it's almost like a wild, angry chainsaw dance, like just, oh fuck, she got away. But again, like even like that scene is just so memorable in the world of horror, because when it comes to horror movies, you don't always know whether, really, if anyone is going to survive. There's always that chance of, you know, the person or really the entire group being killed off. But again, a lot of times, you know, at least one person to make it. And usually it'll be the obligatory lone female survivor. But I think out of out of this, her escaping is probably one of the most satisfying escapes ever. Like, just the whole setting, like the sun is just coming up, the sky is orange. I mean, she spent an entire night in hell. You know, like it's not even nighttime anymore. Like, she's done, like she spent all night just being chased around the woods and tied up in this house of horrors, and she didn't get out until like the fucking sun was coming up early in the morning. And then it's almost like riding off into like the not the sunset, but the sunrise, but in the most horrific way possible, just covered in blood and scars and laughing maniacally. But again, it's bittersweet, because you know, like, this girl is traumatized. Like, this wasn't just the laugh of like just I got away. It was like, I done lost my fucking mind. like she, like, honestly, like it's good that she got away, but it's almost like she was mind broken at the same time. Like, she was like laughing almost hysterically in just the most mind broken, mind fucked way. Like, This ordeal drove me fucking crazy. I would never be the same. But I'm so glad I got the fuck away from y'all. But man, like, that ending is almost poetic. It's beautiful. Like, just the whole scenery of it, man. Again, with like the sun rising, the orange sky, Sally covered in blood, laughing, and Leatherface, just butt hurt to the max. Oh man, but yeah, man. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, the classic, the OG. That's my favorite horror movie of all time, man. And I give it that distinction because, again, this is the one that fucked with me the most. This movie and the character of Leatherface traumatized me the most. And I swear, man, like, one of my fondest memories, because I went through a period where I was obsessed with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. So, like, I ordered all the DVDs off Amazon. I watched all the movies. I listened to the commentary. I mean, I know everything about it. I mean, I know too much about the Texas. Like, everything from the first one to the second one, like, all the movies, like, I've heard the commentary. I've looked into, the making of, how the movie was made. I know everything from the budgets to the actors and how they interacted with it. I know, and I had to, because that was how I overcame my fear of, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like now, it's to the point where, like, I can't even really watch the movies and get scared anymore because I watched them so much. But I swear, bro, like, one of my favorite memories, man, this was when I was like just ordering, like, just getting all the movies and watching them. I watched the original one with my best friend, and we both got high like on weed before we watched it. And I swear, like, that just amplified the fears. So it's like, it just made it so much worse. But like, that's one of my favorite memories of like just watching horror movies with a friend. Like, when I watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre with my best friend and we were high on weed. Oh man, like, again, it made it so much worse. Oh man, but the original one is my favorite because, like, other than the fact that, because really the whole franchise as a whole, like, just different pieces of them kind of fuck with me. But the first one is like, I mean, it's just, it's hard to be the classic, first and foremost. I love the remake. Oh, I mean, really, I had to really decide, like, should I put the remake at number one or but it's got to be the original one. It's got to be there, because whenever I talk about like horror movies online and threads or whatnot, like, people always mention like some horror movies, they don't seem like a movie. They almost seem like a snuff film, like a fucking tape you found in the woods and you just see people getting killed and shit. And the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre has like that vibe. Like, I found a video in the woods type shit, and I'm just watching people, like, it has this otherworldly vibe to it. And I think, like, that's because the actors are relatively unknown. Even in the remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like, you got like Jessica Biel, and I forgot the other guy's name, but like, at least like really at least and what, Earl Lee Armin, that old guy, like, at least about like 4 or 5 of the actors are relatively known. I mean, it's a good remake, but again, the original one, like, you don't know who any of those actors are. Like, they're all like unknowns, and really a lot of them never went on to do anything of significance within the film industry. So it's not like you see them and say like, oh, that's him or that's her. Like, it's like Franklin is really Franklin. Like Sally is really Sally. Kirk is really Kirk. Like you see them as these people rather than an actor or an actress. And I think that adds to it. It's just like, it's almost like this horrific day was just caught on film and those people were killed and never seen again. But again, like just the low budget and the unknown actors, like all that just came together to create like this masterpiece of horror. And it worked out in a way that it didn't work out for Evil Dead. You know, like not trying to throw shade, but with Evil Dead, it was like low budget, you know, unknown actors, and it's hard to take that movie 100% seriously. But with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like it's really a slam dunk. Like there are no moments that kill the immersion or anything like that, unless you're like me and you know listen to the commentary and all that shit. But there are, it's just seamless horror, just pure horror, man. Yeah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now that I'm thoroughly spooked, having talked about this killer shit, that's about it for my top 10 horror movies of all time. Please leave your opinion in the comments section. But really, you know, let me know what your favorite horror movies are. You know, like let me know if you know I had any opinions that you disagree with, or just let me know what your favorite horror movies were and what traumatized you, and you know what's your top 10. You know, that's my homework assignment for you guys. Leave your top 10 horror movies, or top 5 if you're lazy, in the comments section below. Like if you liked it, dislike if I sucked, and I will see you guys hopefully later if I'm not killed off before I'm spooked. See you guys.